Hey, welcome back to another Netcast. I'm Rich Lopez, Quantrix Authority. Sincerely appreciate you joining me today for episode number 89, where I'm going to show you something totally awesome in Quantrix. It's where you can use the DataLink, then the DataPush to get data into SQL Server or another database uber fast or super fast. I came across this the other day. I was working with my colleague, and we were writing some stuff in Microsoft SQL Server. And we realized that we had some data that wasn't in the database, and we really needed it in the database. We thought, well, how can we make that happen? Going out to SQL Server, I thought, well, maybe I could use some sort of input wizard, but that's kind of clunky, and I don't like to do that. And then I thought about that lesser program known as Excel. I thought, well, I could probably write, some Visual Basic code to do it, and I thought, man, I don't really want to do that. It's too big of a process. And then I thought, well, I could create a table in SQL Server and maybe copy and paste into it, but that didn't sound exciting to me either. And I thought, well, why don't I just go ahead and use Quantrix? Because Quantrix can import data into itself, and then it can push it to SQL Server using DataPush really quick. So that's exactly what I did, and that's what I want to show you today. So I have here a basic set of data. I have some labor types and some machines and some wage rates and kind of some facts about the machines associated with their labor types. And what we want is we want this data going into SQL Server so we can run some queries off it and whatever, okay? So in order to get that to happen, like I mentioned, I just go ahead and I copy that to my clipboard, and then I go Data, DataLink, I go Import from Clipboard. I'm going to select everything here, and I go Next, and I'm going to make this just a two-dimensional matrix. And I'm going to click Finish. And there we go. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it Labor Dim or something like that. And maybe I'll call it actually ZZZ Rich Labor Dim, just so I can find it easier in my list on SQL Server. So I have it here. It's got all of my labor types and machines. It's got all my facts that I want. Now what I want to do is I want to create data push. And I go ahead and I say create data push, and I go okay, no primary key, but column is the category I want. I select next, and my schema name is DBO, and my table name is going to be ZZZ, and it doesn't have to be the same name as what I have here for the matrix name. It's not important. Rich Labor Dim. Okay. When I do that, I select everything except for the except for the row, because I don't want that to come back into my table. And then I can, from here in DataPush wizard, I can select what kind of data types I want for each one of these. Okay? For each one of the columns, I go ahead and I click Next. My configuration here, I have it saved. I click Next. It's going to take a second to connect. Once I do, I've got some pre and post SQL I could execute. I think they've actually added a step to this in Quantrix 6.0 I discovered the other day, and I'll probably do a demo on that one these days. But anyway, click Next, and I click Overwrite All Data, so it blows out the table every time I enter it. That's not necessarily important for this exercise, but I like to just kind of do that. It says, hey, the schema in the database had the following problems. Do you want to see the detail? Yeah, well, there's not this table. I know there's not. So I go ahead and I click Yes, because it's just going to create it. And voila, it says, hey, updated successfully. If I go out here and says that the data push succeeded, if I go out here to my server then, and I go ahead and I just refresh this. Hold on. Wait for it. If I just go ahead and I refresh my tables, that table was not there before, and you can see that now I have that table with all of its accompanying columns. And if I were to select all the rows from this, it would bring back everything that I had on that lesser program known as Excel. I brought it into Quantrix using DataLink, import from clipboard, and then I went to DataPush, and I created a DataPush, and I pushed it out to SQL Server. I was able to create a table more or less instantly using Quantrix. So anyway, that was some new functionality I decided to put into place the other day using Quantrix Modeler to help me with some development that I was using on the SQL Server side of things. So again, the ability of Quantrix to import data and then push the data out to a SQL Server database is really just fantastic and very helpful in so many ways. If you have any questions about Quantrix, I hope that you'll reach out to me at quantrixauthority@gmail.com. I absolutely love Quantrix. I want to make you a Quantrix master, so please join me again for another episode of Quantrix Authority with Rich Lopez.